people I know in the music industry is sitting in our studio, ladies and gentlemen. This is an interview you do not want to miss. He is here for something very special, of course, the A3C Music Conference. There will be a conversation today and a roundtable discussion with this man. Mr. Steve Stoute is in our building.
And you are so excited that he was coming.
I was so excited, man.
I was excited to come here.
Aww.
I wanted to hang out with Wanda after what I seen that Cat Williams thing. I just like the way she handled it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. My boss told me the same thing the other day.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm like thinking about it this morning. I'm drinking my coffee, getting my thing together. I'm like, I'm about to see Wanda. I want to. Yeah, she's about to throw some fastballs at me.
Listen.
And of course, then Miss Sophia showed up
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel, Steve? You come a long way.
I mean, you came a long way as well. I mean, I think that's if you committed to it and you go through it every single day, and then you look back and you realize how far you've gone. But I feel like I'm now getting started, Frank.
You know, you have, for people that don't know, let me just say this. As a music executive, of course, with Sony, with Interscope, with A&M Records, doing artists from Nas to Will Smith to Mary J. Blige, to Gwen Stefani to Eminem,
Enrique
Iglesias.
It's just so you throw some Spanish.
Being the head guy.
You throw the Spanish thing and it's like, wow. He doing Spanish shit too.
And
everybody else is extra black. And like, that's Spanish.
Yeah, but then here's the best part. The best part is that you get to now transform and go into another division of the music industry that most people didn't even see.
Well, you know, that's why I started United Masters. I think that when I brought in advertising to the record business, I had left the record business and I went into the advertising industry. And I did a lot of that, the Jay-Z sneaker, the 50 Cent sneaker, Pharrell stuff, and Justin Timberlake, and I'm Loving It, and McDonald's, and just a bunch of advertising. And a lot of the advertising you see that has hip-hop culture in it, that did not exist before I went and did that.
Yeah,
I'm Loving It from the McDonald's.
Yeah, in 2004.
Nice.
And when I left the record business to go do that, people thought I was bugging, but I knew for a fact that if I went into that industry, the advertising industry, and sort of brought what I learned from the record business to it. That's why my company's called Translation, because I wanted to translate what was taking place in culture for Fortune 500 companies. I just had this ambitious goal to do that. That it would help everybody. Wow. And as you see today, the music business and the culture of music is within advertising. You see it on television all the time. And now I want to be able to connect the artist directly without going through a record company to all those opportunities.
We're going to come back. We have a lot to talk about. Steve Stoute is here. Our number is 404-741-WVEE. Man, so many new businesses he's just created, a new documentary that just came out, and more. We'll talk about that and more. It's 8:11, 11 minutes after 8 o'clock, the People Station V103, the ATL's #1 for hip-hop and R&B. It's Frank and Wanda in the morning. We're at 71 degrees in the city. Steve Stoute is our special guest on the People Station V103. He is in town as a keynote speaker for the A3C Music Conference. The reason why is his history in the music game, but also the entertainment game, the advertising game, and more. You know, when we were off the air, we talked about you helping McDonald's in the beginning.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm loving it.
That's one of my favorites.
So you came, your crew came up with that? You came up with that?
Actually, Pusha T and Pharrell.
Wow.
I had Pusha T and Pharrell worked on the I'm Loving It campaign. It was us, another agency. We brought in Pusha T, Pharrell, and Justin Timberlake, and we made that whole entire, the notes, da-da-da-da-da, and the whole thing,
I can say that every day.
Okay,
2004.
so you do
2004.
Same time.
Yeah.
You get involved with a product called Carol's Daughter.
Yeah. Well, Lisa Price, the founder of Carol's Daughter, her mom used to make hair care products and skincare products out of her kitchen. Her mom's name was Carol. And she came up with a brilliant name, Carol's Daughter, Lisa. Lisa Price is the founder. And I'm like, this woman's doing $1 million out of a brownstone. And if I could put money behind her, I don't know why she can't be Estee Lauder. I don't know why she can't be that big. And no one else was going to do it. So I put up the money, and then Will Smith, Jay-Z, Jada Pinkett, they came on board. And like 8 years later, we sold the business, for over $100 million to L'Oreal.
Wow.
Wanda, you're not even listening to what he said.
I was a fan of Laurie. Oh
and
my
then
God.
and then we've been watching. You're very
Carol's daughter.
And both. I love both. Though.
so you've been very influential.
I can tell by your lipstick that you definitely like all the beauty
Yes, I do. This
She's
is my
blinging.
lips. This is my lipstick line. Kissable lips.
She's blinging.
You were very influential with Nas. Very influential in his life.
That's my brother.
And
That's my
Nas has
brother
been
for life.
doing some incredible investments.
Yes, he has. Yeah, Nas has made his way. I mean, we have an office, translation, we have an office in San Francisco, and I got a chance to meet all the movers and shakers in Silicon Valley. And there's a lot to be done. There's a lot of culture that needs to be brought to Silicon Valley and opportunities for young black entrepreneurs, for sure. And I got Nas in there early, and him and his manager, Anthony, they've done a fantastic job of going in there and meeting young entrepreneurs and investing early. And, not all of them hit. But when they hit big. But it's not about hitting and missing, and I don't want to make it seem like the lotto. You're believing in somebody's vision, like anything else, right? You meet a young entrepreneur, you have an idea, you need whatever it is, a couple $1 million, a couple $1,000, whatever it is to get started. And, with hard work, dedication, persistence, you can see it in somebody's eyes. Is there a use case for it? Do people really need this product?
Yeah.
Is it disrupting an industry that's been getting away with things too long, which is United Masses? I'm disrupting the record business.
So then let's talk about that just for 1 second, because I know Wanda's got a bunch of questions. Sophia does too. United Masters. This is why this is so big. So I understand the music industry, being an artist back in the day, and what it means to own your masters. Yeah. But the ability to get your music to the masses was always interrupted by all these people in the middle. Yeah. So what did you come up with?
Well, I wanted to be able to take any artist, and get your music on Apple, Spotify, distributed widely, which is not necessarily the greatest or new idea. There's aggregators who do that allow you to get, that's what TuneCore does. You can put your music up and get it places. But to be able to really understand who your audience is, to find out who are the people who are most likely to listen to your music, who are listening to it, so that you can sell them things directly, you can market to them directly, that's never been done. They call that in the advertising business CRM, customer relationship management. But it's a way for you to actually connect directly with your fans. I've always believed that if you listen to a Kanye song X amount of times, 70 times, he should be able to sell you the Yeezys directly, right? If you listen to Astroworld, Travis should be able to sell you his merch directly. There should be no reason why he can't take the opportunity to know who listened to him and then go direct to that consumer. Record companies never allowed that to take place. In fact, I've always believed that record companies never wanted their artists to know who their fans are. Because if the artists knew who their fans were, they would never need the record company.
So you've made a way with this new United Masters to do that.
Yeah. So artists can go direct to their consumers. That's right.
It's 8:26, Sophia.
Yeah, you've talked about the music industry. You've been heavy in the music industry. So have you ever thought about doing something with politics?
I've backed a few folks. I think it's important. I think the midterm elections this year is important. I specifically never even knew the value of the midterm elections historically. I always waited every 4 years to vote for a president. And then you realize the midterm election, when you start seeing this Kavanaugh case and you start realizing the power of Senate and Congress, which we need some change, obviously, or we'll end up with 6 years of what we currently have. The midterm election is something that we need to really push, get people out there to vote, know who your local senators are, your congressmen.
Right.
It's super important. It's actually more important than the presidential election in this current midterm election. So, no, I have not. But right now, I'm promoting voting because I think it's important that everybody registers to vote. And politics is something that I tried to stay away from. But giving people the platform to know that it's their opportunity, it's their privilege to go out there and vote, and people put their lives on the line for it. That I want to be pro that. I am pro that. And anything I can do to push that message forward, I would.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Steve Stoute has recently joined forces with LeBron James and Maverick Carter to produce a documentary entitled Student Athlete, a documentary detailing college sports and how athletes are being exploited. How many times have we talked about that?
Yes.
We continue our conversation with Steve Stoute next.
Yeah.
You can call him as
Frank
well
Skitty.
at 404-741-WVEE. Let's go to the
Wanda
news center. Here's
Bland.
Maria.
What advice do you have for an aspiring songwriter that is trying to make it in the industry?
I think that it's important that you get your songs covered. Like just having people in social media cover your song. I've watched artists just blow up singing covers. And for a songwriter to get their song out there so that the hook, the melody starts getting ingrained and people start following it, I think that's the easiest way to do it. In any business now, specifically in music or book publishing, you got to figure out how to use technology to your advantage so that you can go direct. It's not about trying to get everybody and going to Sony Music Publishing and trying to do that deal in the beginning. It's really trying to get going. You got to also be dedicated to this. Like you can't, like if you just write songs on the weekend or whatever, and it's not something that you are out there actively pushing, then it's going to be extremely hard for you because, you know, we live in a world now where to get attention and to cut through is difficult. The baseline for getting attention is consistency.
Steve Stoute is here for the music conference this weekend. Advertising entrepreneur, tech innovator, author, former music executive.
That's right.
Man, he is pushing the culture
music
forward.
Executive, pushing culture forward.
All of that. So let me ask you a question, Steve. So I do something here in Atlanta called the Youth Bowl, and it's a youth sports for football, kind of like what they do in the Little League, but here in Atlanta, this is like one of the largest youth football markets in America.
Yes, it is.
It's Miami, Dallas, Atlanta. So this feeds like the SEC big time. A lot of big players coming out of here, going to the big colleges like Alabama, Georgia. All these national teams are getting their talent from here. And what we've seen in the years that we've been doing the Youth Bowl is that now these advertising companies, and it starts when they're young. Like already these kids are in the spotlight at 7 and 8 years old as they're coming up through the system, and then their parents are just getting bombarded. Then they go on into college, and then it seems like they're going into this system that is not really benefiting them individually as much as it's benefiting the team or the organization or the college. And it's almost a lot of people call it like the new slavery.
Or it's not even kind of like the new slavery. It's kind of like slavery, period. Where these kids, I mean, that's why we made the documentary Student Athlete, to shine a light on this. Because all you see is the millions of dollars that the most successful guys who get out the funnel, who get out the battlefield, starting from 7, 8 years old, being bombarded, avoiding injury, and you see that part, but you don't see what happens in between. What happens in between is a tragedy, man. Like these kids go to Division I schools. Their parents can't even afford to come see them play, can't get on a plane to come see them play, yet the colleges are making billions of dollars. The NCAA makes billions of dollars. Some of these kids are poor, go to bed hungry, sleep in their cars. And if they get a loan, if they get any amount of money, any aid, it nullifies them from being eligible in the NCAA. So not only is it bad, them being bombarded and their parents being bombarded as brands and everybody take advantage of their popularity, they're not even allowed to participate legally in the money. So there's cases coming up now that hopefully will change this, and like hopefully the documentary is a dent in creating momentum around this. But like, man, there's a guy, Terrell Pryor. This guy played at Ohio State. He gave his jersey away, got a tattoo for giving away his jersey, his football jersey, and then became not eligible to play. This happened with Michigan, Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, all these guys in college. It's bad, man. It's really bad. Maurice Clarett played running back for Ohio State, took on the NCAA and won. Ended up losing in the Supreme Court. But like these guys' likenesses in video games, but they don't make any money. I mean, you can't do that. You can't pay a college coach $10 million a year to make the players wear Nike and the players make nothing.
But a lot of people say the players get an education. They get a free education.
Man, these guys, when you see the documentary, and education, the coaches are getting paid money, getting bonuses to make sure they pass. You know what these guys are taking? Parks and recreation courses. Literally, learning Swahili. They're giving them anything because they just think they're going to go pro. So that thing is in their mind that I'm going to be a professional football player. I'm on television. I'm going to really do it. And you would think somebody says, sir, you know what, get your education. No. How are they going to get an education? You know these games where they got to, if you play college basketball, you're on the road 3-4 days a week. How are you going to study? You can't get an internship. How do you do anything but be a professional athlete?
And then when it doesn't happen, then they have nothing.
Knee injuries and no backup plan.
Wow.
And nobody tells that story. Guys who can't walk right now thought they were going to be pro and can't get medical attention.
Steve, I gotta tell you this. Wanda's son was a very famous football high school player here, and he was always on the front page in the newspaper every Saturday morning after the games Friday. Went into University of Georgia, and had an injury to his leg. But during the time when they did the surgery for him, they paid him no mind. Like he almost did not exist.
Yeah.
Right.
He felt like he wasn't a person anymore.
Yeah.
He was this highly touted kid. They told him, have the surgery before the season. When he's off, he was at school by himself. Nobody came to see him. He couldn't get out of his own bed to go get food. And they just left him out there like he was
an animal.
And
he's like an animal. And these kids go into depression, and there's nobody there for them. I was happy that LeBron James, he's a hero, right?
Absolutely.
He's a hero. And he's leading a generation. And I was proud that he wanted to put a spotlight on this because he bypassed the college system and went right to the pros. But he knows what these kids go through.
Right.
And the way they get treated, it ain't right. It's not right. And you know what? It's college football and college basketball that brings in all the money. They pay all that money they bring in pays for all of the other sports, the lacrosse team and the tennis
golf
team.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's black kids paying for all these white kids to get scholarships. And if it was the other way around, if it was white kids paying for black kids scholarships, it wouldn't even be the case.
Right.
And the other thing they do is, the NCAA does is, to go into the NFL, you got to play 1 year. You got to play college football, right? You can't just go out of high school and play pro. You got to go into the system. To play basketball, you got to go pro before you go into the system. In tennis, baseball, and all that, you can go right to professional. Tennis, you go professional at 16. Baseball, you go right in. They make you go because they know that money's there.
And so you talked about LeBron James not going that route, he's been going from high school to
they changed the rules.
Pro. But they changed the rules. And then I think just as simple as it was for them to change the rules for that, it's just that simple to change the rules for these college athletes to get paid, because I've always been saying that they should get paid because you look on the television on Saturday, they take over Saturday with the college football game, and the colleges are making the money, the coaches are making the money, like you said, and the athletes are getting hurt, and once they get hurt, their careers are over.
Their parents can't afford to see them play. They fly them to different cities, of course, because it's so big. It's not like they're playing local games anymore. Man, you're flying up to New York, you flying to Texas, you flying. How are your parents gonna see you play?
I know.
And if your parents if you could even get money to buy a ticket for your parents, you then make yourself not eligible to go pro.
Steve Stoute, our special guest. Steve,
yes,
man, we could talk all day. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me. This was a ball. It wasn't as entertaining as Cat Williams' interview, but I think it was more educational.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Steve Stoute will be at the A3C conference today. He is the keynote speaker. Thank you for coming by, brother.
Thank you, sir.